call Natalie Kinloch, and Natalie's from the Federal Bridge Corporation. Tim Sturick from the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority. We're going to talk a little bit what's going on at the bridge and all the improvements that's going on there too.
Thank you. It certainly is a friendly crowd today. I have to say that as a hockey mom coming from SD&G, the other side, I've visited all of your arenas, and it's not always so friendly. So if anybody's in the audience from South Grenville, I apologize for your results last night. Ours were good, yours not so much. And so my name is Natalie Kinloch. I'm the Chief Financial and Operating Officer of the Federal Bridge Corporation. I'm joined by Tim Sturick. Tim Sturick is the Deputy Director of the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority. And together we jointly operate the bridge a little bit to the west of here. And I do want to note that our colleague Mark Pagunas from CBSA, director of the port there, is with us. So if anybody has any questions about how to get across the border, we can physically get you there. Mark determines if you're able to enter the country. So this is the bridge, as I'm sure many of you know. Beautiful, known everywhere we go as one of the most spectacular locations across all of Northern Ontario, across all of North America. Because this morning, and Anne was so kind as to inform us of the recognition of Gord Brown, we want to share with you that Gord was an absolute champion for our international bridges. He believed in the capital-to-capital relationship. And as we open our port, new port on the Canadian side, we were able to plant a Canadian red maple in honor of Gord. And that was done this June, where we had our official opening. So forever there will be a tree at the port to recognize Gord's effort. And I have to say that he has been a personal champion of this project. There was never a prouder day that I saw Gord on the day that he was able to announce that he had landed the funding for this project. And so his legacy lives on, and we are happy to have delivered that in his name. So who are we, Federal Bridge, and how does this work with the Canadians and Americans, and how do we do things? We are a Federal Crown Corporation, agent of Her Majesty, and we have a 7-member board, which is appointed by the Governor and Council, i.e. government. We own 4 international bridges, so the Canadian interest. So connecting Michigan and Ontario, we have Sault Ste. Marie to the north, Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia. New York State and Ontario, we have the Thousand Islands Bridge, which we're discussing today, and we also have the Seaway International Bridge, which is the Cornwall one. Why is Ogdensburg Prescott different? I don't know. It goes back into the histories of when that bridge was built, but it is not part of our portfolio.
And I'm going to talk about TIBA, or TIBA, Thousand Islands Bridge Authority. We are a public benefit corporation governed by the New York State Public Authorities Law. The actual authority was formed in 1933. The bridge opened in 1938. Just celebrated our 80th anniversary, actually on the day of the opening, August 18th. Hopefully some of you were able to make that. As Natalie said, we have a management and operations agreement. The Thousand Islands Bridge Authority operates and maintains both bridges, collects all the revenues, and every 6 months we basically have an audit, and revenues less expenses, and the difference is shared. TIBA operates within its own financial means. We receive no federal, state, provincial, local tax dollars. We're totally self-supportive. Overall, we have approximately 62 full-time employees. That includes employees in both the U.S. and Canada. It's about 40 employees in the States and about 20 in Canada. And in the summertime, we expand to about another 100 seasonal positions in the summer months. And one of the unique things about our governance as being under the New York State Public Authorities Law is that we're local and we're international. The 7-member board, 3 Canadian members, 4 American members, but all those members are appointed by the local county of Jefferson in New York. Again, the bridge opened in August of 1938. It was only about a 16-month build time at about a cost of $3 million back then. Pretty impressive to build all that in 16 months. It's one of 3 international crossings between the U.S. and Canada across the St. Lawrence, the others being Ogden-Prescott and Cornwall-Messina. Unique attribute is that we are a direct link between the 401 and Interstate 81, which connects, Ottawa and Toronto in Canada to all the cities in the east coast of the U.S. We see approximately 2 million vehicles per year cross the bridges. Approximately 20% of that's commercial, or about 400,000 trucks. You can see the stats there. One thing to note is our busiest time is between May and September, obviously the summer season when we see all the tourism. And since its opening, the bridge has seen about 106 million vehicles cross it since 1938. And another key stat is that approximately $1.5 billion worth of trade crosses the bridge system every month. So you can see the importance of the bridges to the region.
This slide is important for all of you. Regardless the year, the pattern at this bridge is the same. This is when your traffic comes in. So we can deliver them to you. We can make sure the roads are open even on days like today. But if you're planning a business model, certainly, and LeBeau, this would be important to you, the people are coming. It is the single most stable international bridge crossing in regards to fluctuation of traffic. You can count on these numbers because this is multi-year, recessions, growth, etc. This is how the travel comes across. Notable regional attractors, so other big things that are happening. Our partner at Thousand Islands Bridge Authority also owns the Bolt Castle, which many of you are familiar with. If you haven't visited in the last 3 to 5 years, you need to take a trek because certainly the investments are important. We're the gateway to the regional nature tourism that this region presents, the Canadian National Capital, the Rideau Canal, the cross-border shopping at a 75 cents dollar. Maybe we'd like to encourage Americans to come this way, and other recreational tourism. As a trade corridor, this is what's crossing your bridge. Aluminum, certainly important, and we are watching the trade talks very closely. But also we see that this port is not dependent on one commodity. So even though you might have trade talks, aluminum being the one that we're talking about currently with our American partners, this is a port that is much more than that. And so even if an industry changes, we are still sustainable year after year, economic cycle after economic cycle. So 29 million a day, 13 billion a year, with an estimated growth rate on the trade to 6 to 10% at this port. We're evolving to meet user needs. So often it's an infrastructure story, and this one is no different. I'll speak about the modernization of the CBSA port shortly, but we also have Ontario doing QN warning and camera systems. We have their highway widening at Highway 137. This summer there was some works on the bridges approaching on the 401. There's also some widening on the I-81. The Riff East Bridge, which is the actual bridge that is the international bridge. So if you can picture yourself just coming across past duty free, you cross this tiny bridge that's 100 feet long. That's where the border is. And so despite how long this crossing is, that little bridge is where Canada and the US meet. GSA, General Services Administration out of the US, is currently building the new port for the Customs and Border Patrol, and that is quite the feat, and Tim will talk about it. We've also invested significantly in security and traffic management. So these are the things behind the scenes. There is much concern across all of our nations that our infrastructure remains safe. And so we have not only trained our employees, we've invested in infrastructure and systems to make sure that those bridges, I shouldn't say that bridge, there's more than one, are continuously monitored. And so the asset management is very important. We have the Nexus Enrollment Center, which if you don't have a Nexus card and you travel more than a couple times a year to the US, get one, it's really worth it. And also the Capital Corridor. As Tim said, we're the link 401, I-81. It links Ottawa to Washington, and many have done the trek and continue to do so, and this year is no exception.
And as Natalie said, as regards to Bolt Castle, if you haven't seen Bolt Castle, you haven't seen Bolt Castle. The improvements that have been made there over the last 41 years that the authorities owned and operated have just been tremendous, not only as what's been done for the castle itself, but to the region itself as a whole. The authority took over the castle in 1977. Again, like I said, we just completed our 41st year of operations. We did a little over 200,000 admissions again this year. It was our fourth best year ever since the authorities had it. We currently have 7 full-time staff and approximately another 50 to 60 seasonal employees that we hire each and every year to man the castle, from anything from concessions, cashiers, information hosts, construction maintenance, landscape maintenance, you name it, we do it. In 2014, the authority conducted a study. We knew the castle had a large economic impact to the region, but we didn't know how big. As you can see, the study then said that the impact to the region, to the international region of the Thousand Islands, was $45 million annually. Today, it's probably closer to 50. So as you can see, it's one of the largest economic drivers of the Thousand Islands and the river communities. When the authority took over the castle, or received the castle as a gift from the E.J. Noble Foundation in 1977, it included about 1,000 acres of undeveloped land, including 2 golf courses and a country club. All that land was divested, sold to developers, to what today is known as Tennis Island, as well as the golf courses, and that's all privately owned. It's all on the tax rolls, and the initial funds were used to begin the reconstruction of Bolt Castle. Probably a stat that not a lot of people know about, but just the economic impact of that to the area. And one little stat too is that the castle's only open about 24 to 26 weeks a year, about 160 days. It's also one of the top 20 most visited historic homes in the U.S., the Biltmore being number 1, but we were on that list a few years ago. It was number 14 most visited homes in the area. Operationally, Thousand Islands Bridge Authority, we work with a whole multitude of other jurisdictions and entities. As you can see, I won't read them all. We're very unique. As Natalie said, the length of the system's approximately 9 miles from one end to the other and back. Again, the bridge was built in 1938. It's 80 years old. It's a 4-lane highway to a 2-lane bridge, so there's some infrastructure and also safety with, not so much safety with the bridge, but safety with 9/11 era, the post 9/11 world, and keeping everything safe. And we work closely with both CBSA and U.S. Customs for travel to make sure that the traffic flows as freely as possible. The uniqueness too is that the border's in the middle. You can cross either bridge and never leave the country. And we like to say too, a real good indicator for what the year is going to be for economic indicators is, the number of snowbirds or RVs going south this time of year. And in the spring, we like to call them the Pennsylvania Navy, the fishermen coming north.
So in regards to Canadian improvements, Gord's project, $60 million. The modernization and growth of this port. Mark, pretty nice digs these days. So our current status is we're done. Anybody who's been through, it's spectacular. If you did not go in about a 3-year span and suddenly come up to the port, you're shocked, as some people have reported to me. It is modernized, it has the latest technology, it gets you through quickly. and it's fully open for business. There's a lot of technology invested, and we are working together with CBSA to get some more to make sure that the traffic can flow even easier. Because when you haven't been in line for too long, you feel like you might stop for some food and some shopping, and you have time for these things. So that's very important to us. The Americans who come north want to explore our communities because we have so much to offer. Quick picture of the port. Again, spectacular, whether you see it at night or in the morning.
And I'll just briefly touch on the improvements currently going on the American side. As Natalie said, U.S. General Services Administration, they're the ones who are currently, they manage all the U.S. government's assets as far as buildings and whatnot, and they're currently constructing it's a two-phase, $215 million new port of entry. Commercial section is supposed to be completed in late 2019. That's phase one. That's going to about triple the capacity of commercial traffic that they can handle. Currently, they have 3 lanes, but really only 2 are operational. They're going to open it up to, they're going to have 7 commercial lanes. And in 2022, the passenger side will be done, about double this capacity that they can handle now to then. They're going to have about 9 passenger lanes and a bus lane. So like we said, we expect the capacity could potentially triple for commercial traffic and double for what can be handled for passenger. And there's a picture, an architectural picture of what the port's slated to look like. Didn't have much, I didn't want to show a picture of what the current construction looks like because it's just a bunch of rock. Some other operations that the Thousand Islands Bridge Authority operates. We own the store, not the operations, but we own the building that the U.S. duty-free store operates out of on Wellesley Island. And actually, to show their commitment to the area, they just recently signed a new 9-year lease with us. So they're committed, and they're going to be there for the next 9 years. In the town of Alexandria Bay, just outside the bridge, we own the building that the New York State Police operate out of, and they're actually our tenant. Probably a lot of you don't know, but we're in the water business. We own and operate a potable water plant, which supplies GSA or U.S. Customs, Canada Customs, and the U.S. duty-free store. With the new U.S. Customs coming online here in the next few years, the current plant can't supply the required capacity that they require, so we're currently underway with building a new plant that can handle the increased capacity, and it'll still supply those 3 people. Thousand Islands International Tourism Council, Corey Fram, one of my colleagues here, is here, and he's the new director for the Tourism Council starting December 1st. With the retirement of Gary DeYoung. They do an outstanding job of promoting tourism for the international region. Their funding sources come from Thousand Islands Bridge Authority, Federal Bridge Corporation, and the County of Jefferson, and they market the region, both U.S. and Canada, to show what the region has to offer. They're a separate board. They have both American and Canadian members on the board. And lastly, Corey, they currently operate a welcome center that's owned by the authority. If some of you have crossed the bridges lately, you've seen the construction going on. The New York State is currently building a new welcome center on the southern part of the south end of the U.S. bridge. And it's not open yet. We're hoping it'll be open by next week. The picture on the top left, that's a current picture of kind of what it looks like. You couldn't get too close because it's still a construction site. The bottom left is an architectural drawing of what the inside's slated to look like. And then the larger picture is an outside. As you're coming down the U.S. bridge going south, you'll be looking at that. Pretty impressive facility. It's going to showcase the region. And I encourage all of you to stop if you are crossing over. And what's next? We're currently underway of installing a new toll collection system. Our current system is approximately 20 years old and has reached the end of its useful life. This new system will be able to accept both Easy Pass and Best Pass, which is a company similar to Easy Pass, but they cater to the trucking companies. It's a consolidated, basically one transponder, and they consolidate their billings from all over the country. We continue to do our ongoing maintenance program, our paint program every year. The bridge is 80 years old. It's in excellent condition, and we hope it's another 80 years. And then obviously a focus on safety and security for all of the passengers and customers that cross the bridge to make sure that A, the facility's safe, and B, they get across safely, which we do a pretty good job. That's kind of who the Thousand Island Bridge Authority is, and along with our partner, the Federal Bridge, so we'll open it up to questions.
Super. Thank you. Appreciate presentation.